Hey, hey, hello everyone. Welcome to the short answer. It is a great joy to be with you today. It's a very big day in that this is the first time that we've been together for the short answer since I was in the south of France on the Mary Magdalene tour. In the 9 days of the Mother Divine, came back to the United States and went into a sacred Kashi conversation about the gods and goddesses of the ancient Eastern India traditions and teachings, and then came into a small group treatment intensive where I was working with best practitioners who were happy to hold the space for new integrations regarding everything energy codes. And I just want to share with you that right now we are in the yoga retreat, the Body Awake Yoga Retreat, for 6 days, and infusing this new perspective that's been downloading in and interpreted and translated into new explanations and experiences regarding what it is that we're doing here in the energy codes. So it is a new dawning that is happening, and I'm thrilled to be sharing the short answer with you today. And that's why I want to speak to you about the things that are coming up in this moment. And we're going to call it crossing the quantum line, and just stepping into something rather than working toward it. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But, you know, the team, the village always wants me to let you know what's coming down the road. And I assure you that that too is going to be an amazing expression of remote healing. There's a lot coming at the end of the month on the 31st and into November 1st, and so many things happening even between now and then. At least the challenge for the remote healing class is starting at the end of the month. I can feel the team just cringing that I'm like, oh, she said that wrong. So we're going to start a challenge to allow you to start to familiarize yourselves with what in the world remote healing is, and how it can become an authentic thing, how it can be real and validated. And it certainly has been in the years that we've been teaching it. We started teaching it when the pandemic began because we wanted to allow people to remain connected and our teams of practitioners to remain in service. And boy, it just unfolded an amazing new world. And so we're going to run this challenge again, and it starts on the 31st. And the challenge is it's a 3-day remote healing challenge that is going to go for 3 days. And then after that, there's going to be a global healing event. So you're going to be able to put your new talents, your newfound expression of wholeness into use and do some global work with our family of the entire, species of humanity. And we're going to celebrate everything that we've learned inside of that and just, put it to use and celebrate one another in such a beautiful way. I love the remote healing work, and I love it when the year bends around to the time where that starts to get to be utilized. And I want to share with you that the south of France and then the 9 days of the Mother Divine are entering us into a season of abundance. And the abundance isn't just about the crops coming to fruition and having lots of thanks and gratitude. It's truly abundance that is descending onto the planet, and the easiest time of the year for us to be able to acknowledge and feel and sense and allow the perception of such things to be real for us. And so it's an amazing time, a perfect time for you to move in to remote healing and transmissions. And so what I mean by that is when we finally land after the global healing event into the remote healing course itself, which, let me tell you those dates, let me find them, is Saturday and Sunday, November 12th and 13th. I'm telling you about it ahead of time because I want you to reserve your calendars, because it is an amazing opportunity, not only for you to make a difference in the world, but for you to receive more and for you to ultimately perceive that there's no such thing as giving and receiving, that there is a realm that we can step into where both of those things are true simultaneously. And we have a deeper appreciation for everything that we are and everything that is possible on this planet. We are meant to be fourth dimensional beings, not third dimensional beings. We are energy beings being human right now. And our ultimate expression is is to allow the rest of who we are to come through that human experience. And it feels to you like you're becoming a little more psychic, a little more capable of perceiving things ahead of time. And I'm going to give you some science as to how that is possible, because we actually feel and perceive and sense into a reality before our linear mind lands on an interpretation of it. So it feels like we're sensing things ahead of time, but we're really sensing them right on time. And the mind is actually behind the schedule. So, you know, what's new? The mind is the last to know when it comes to our true magnificence. So I am so thrilled about plugging you into that challenge. I love the challenge. And we get to the global healing event. We come together live. We're going to have, of course, grand prizes because it's become part of that. And those grand prizes are some special time in personal session, private sessions with me. And I'm thrilled about that because I get to zero all that energy in on you. So if you're signing up for the challenge, you become eligible for that grand prize. And as you're participating in it, we are thrilled to be gathering all of that information and then, you know, reaching in the hat and grabbing a grand prize winner. So that's all super fun. And that's before the event even starts. So remote healing is coming up November 12th and 13th. And I just have to tell you, it's really what it's all about. So I'm going to share with you a little bit in the short answer why that's true on a new level in just a moment. I have to check my little sheet here and make sure that that I've covered my homework assignments here to give you. All right. So the Remote Healing Online Challenge starts October 31st. Then we move into the Global Healing Celebration, November 7th. And then the Energy Codes, Techniques, and Transmission course starts on Saturday and Sunday, November 12th and 13th. I feel very proud of myself for remembering to go over those little pieces of information for you. And here's what I want to do. We're going to take the next minutes and go into a reality shift. We're going to move across the quantum line. And here's what I mean by that. We are attached to the mind, and so much of us is operating from this place of the mind. And there is something I'm going to be revealing in mass inside of the Remote Healing course on November 12th and 13th that is so relevant to your own healing, but it is also so relevant to changing the world and your worldview, changing the perspective of who you even think you are inside of this life experience. And it is truly about just becoming that which we are always goaling toward. So when we're living as the mind, we are in reference to a better world. There's a better world. There's a heaven out there somewhere. There's a better life, a better time in the future. And we're bound by these ideas of past and present and future. And that's a linear interpretation of a greater reality. And I really want to give you access to that greater reality in a bigger way than we ever have before. So when I was in the south of France, I recognized that there was something that had been not exactly emphasized in the Western world and the United States, and in most of Europe as well, when it comes to really understanding ascension, raising your vibration practices. That there have been practices set in place for thousands of years that we have been holding as separate from us, and we've also only really been focusing on a portion of it, which has put a great emphasis on the masculine energy, the divine masculine energy, which is all about going and doing and making it happen and getting things done and setting goals and visions for yourself and making sure that you're doing all the things right to make that happen. And it works. And I also want to remind you that so often people are achieving those goals and accomplishing those things and they feel victorious, and that victory is a temporary sort of victory, and there's something still missing. And the reason that that something is missing is that we're going about it in the wrong way. We're achieving an experience of victory, but it's kind of a cheap imitation of the true victory that is really here for you. It's really something deeper that you're designed and destined actually to discover. And we keep coming back into this life until we kind of put the pieces together enough that we do discover it, not intellectually, but that we find ourselves in the experience of it. And that's true embodiment. So I've been bringing embodiment messages to you for 20 years, and I want to tell you that it literally is taking a quantum leap itself. And I can't go into all the details in it in our short time together. I'll be expounding on it a little bit inside the masterclass, which is coming next. But I do want to share with you what I can in the amount of time that we have for a short answer. And that is when you are imagining a better world. And oftentimes we do that in guided visualizations and guided meditations. The invitation is imagine this world. Imagine a better place. Imagine that you are here and that your senses are able to relax and settle into this better place. And then sometimes we're then guided to see the things around us and interact with people in this better place, in this better realm. And I want you to understand that even when we do that, we are still identified as the mind, but the mind is inventing a better world for itself under those guidances and under those circumstances. But we can still, at the end of the day, be seated as the mind. And so I'm going to invite you to just step over the quantum line, to actually not see it as another world that you're moving into, but to really just be there. Don't be in a linear progression toward it. Just sit down as that. And so how do we do that? Well, I want you to understand that the truth of you is truth itself. The highest state of consciousness is just pure truth. It's purely what is. And so when truth is descending and compressing its vibration to come into this physical dimension, which it has to be more compressed to make it here. And as that is occurring and we hit the density of that physical dimension, there is an uprising that occurs. And that uprising is an up-leveling. And that up-leveling is occurring when most unwaveringly, in a manner that it can never go away, if we become that which is rising. Not just allow a higher vibration into our system, but that we literally start to feel our way into this higher vibrational version of who we are. And the greatest catalyst to that is love. The greatest catalyst. Now, the mind, we can be seated over here in the mind, and we can decide to be a loving mind. We can decide to be more loving. We can decide to appreciate the love and notice the love, and we can notice all the things that come from loving engagements and loving relationships, etc. But I'm not talking about the kind of heartfelt romantic love, or even love that is just kindness, or love that is forgiving. There's an even higher vibrational version of what I'm speaking about. And it is actually an ecstatic and blissful state inside the system. So I'm going to invite you to explore the love that you know in your heart space. And it is a version of effervescent, unbounded, dissolving type of forgiving, compassionate, opening love. And it is beautiful. And there is another love that you are that is even deeper than those sorts of experiences, that is a deep, deep truth. This cosmic love, let me call it that, this quantum love that is the truest state of your being, is at the very foundation of who you are. Now, it takes a little bit more time for me to explain what I mean by all of that, but in the meantime, you can do this. Find the love that is in your heart and begin to stretch open your solar plexus and breathe the love that is in your heart down into the location of the solar plexus in your body. And if you can melt open the solar plexus and allow it to vibrate at the same frequency of the love that is in this heart space, you're actually going to soften the mind so very much by doing so. The mental body, the energies of the mental body are anchored in the solar plexus. And when we can soften in the solar plexus, we are softening the mind field in the particular system that we are living in. And when we soften the mental body within the system that we are living in, it becomes more available to surrendering, to not driving it and overthinking and pushing the river and making goals and hitting deadlines and putting pressure on the system from the outside in, from the head down into this body. There is another way of allowing this to unfold in your world in a very compassionate and very loving and very real, authentic way. And it is for you to soften in this mental body. There is also a well of wisdom below the solar plexus, and it is this emotional body. When grounded, this emotional body becomes wisdom. So the wise person, we know, doesn't get caught up and entangled into the distortions that happen with dramas and traumas, and it doesn't try to control. It knows and it trusts and it is. And one of the greatest faculties inside of the Mortar Institute and the energy codes and everything that we're doing with Body Awake Yoga and inside of the bioenergetic work that I am bringing forward, even that is going to reinvent itself, I can tell you, as a new application of how this is working together. That inside of all of that, what I love watching is how people come from this controlling place of trying to make sure that everybody's doing everything exactly right. And it's stressful, to opening into a place of wisdom and beyond trust. When we really begin to identify as this version of essential quantum loving self, it isn't that we have to trust that it's all going to be okay. We know that it is okay, and we're just walking into it as organized and as clear as we can be, and that we're available to what's going to unfold in the present moment. These are the types of things that we need to become really super acclimated to. Now, the mind thinks, yeah, I got that, check, 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 check. I understand all that. I assure you that when you move into the actual experience of the love in your heart being alive in your solar plexus and actually being alive and well in the emotional body above and just below the navel, and even all the way down to the rooted system, all of which is something that we're going to be covering when we get to the remote healing course. The healing course, the techniques and transmissions are going to include teaching you how to come from this realm that is such deeply grounded love. It is completing. You feel so completely whole and complete and in this body. So 20 years ago, I had an experience out, up and above in the astral version of life, of the higher self, me at the highest vibrational version possible. And in the next 5 years, I began to just work with how in the world do I reproduce that? How do I get back there? How do I do this? And I began to find a way to embody it. In the next 5 years, I started teaching and working with my patients and clients in the same way, so as to infuse that into the treatments that I was doing. And spiritual bioenergetics came into focus as a byproduct of that. And people began to get better faster, stay better longer, have an entirely different realm open up to them because they're starting to work in this way. And if you've not experienced that sort of work, then I invite you to engage in the remote healing course, because that is what we are intended to be. And what came as a byproduct of me embodying these realms, these higher states of consciousness that I was becoming aware of, what came of that is a series of principles and practices that became the energy codes. And they are reinventing themselves right now in this year at this time. And an exclamation point has been put on it in the last month. So I would love to share all of that with you in the remote healing course. And what I want you to get right now in this short answer is an invitation for you to go ahead and step across the quantum line. Stop thinking about the quantum field. Start learning how to experience the quantum field. So here's what happens. When we meditate and we still the mind, we get into this expansive state. We kind of feel stoned and we feel a little bit out of it. But I want you to allow that stilled state to be equated with love. And for that love to be made so free that it can expand and expand and expand without you having to do anything. In fact, you learn to do less. Inside of the Remote Healing Challenge, we're going to start in the process, in the challenge, how training you how to undo what we're so used to doing so that this truth can start to expand into your life experience. So even if you've done the challenge before, do it again. Because I assure you that the energy inside of all of the intention and what it's heading to inside of that remote healing course is going to be brand new. So I've taught the course 3 or 4 times, 3 times, I think, and each time it's been different, and every time it's been fabulous. And I really can't wait to see how it comes together in that sort of a thing. And I hope that you'll join me for that. So the expansiveness that you've ever felt in your mind in meditation, allow that expansiveness to be brought down into the heart, into the loving space that you are familiar with. And when they come together, there is a stillness in this love that allows your mind, the mental body, the solar plexus to open. And as it opens, you will start to feel an electrical sensation because the mental body is very electrical. And that electricity associated with that love becomes an ecstaticness. An ecstasy starts to happen. Now, it's a rapturing, higher vibrational version of love when you love in the solar plexus the way that you love in the heart. The rest of it is too detailed for me to get into right now, but we're going to take you down into a journey all the way into the heart of Mother Earth and Mother Nature and your true nature as it relates to being human. So I so look forward to that, what's coming down the pike and entering into the holy days. There's never been a better time, which is why we do this at this time of year, that we're starting to capitalize on the energies that are bombarding the planet at this time of year like no other. And so I look forward to seeing you in the challenge. You better show up and seeing what we can do with all of this. So it's absolutely free. Come in and do your thing. And then I hope you'll join me for the Global Healing event and then even into the depths of the remote healing course. And so step across the quantum line, my friends, and allow yourself to be who you truly are. Allow the mind to chill out and to drop into you, into this bonfire, this blazing bonfire that you truly are. And then you'll find yourself loving into the parts of the mind that think that it has to be hard, that think that it has to be linear, that thinks that it has to happen sometime in the future. There is no such thing. Let's allow this to be true now. Step across the line with me, my friends. Drop on in. The water's fine. Okay? So I hope you'll join me for the masterclass. If you haven't joined us for the masterclass, you can find out how to do that in the information section right here in this broadcast, and still time for you to join us as we plug in at the bottom of the hour. So I will see you there. It's going to be about 45 minutes or so of a master class where I'm taking all sorts of questions, tying them together, and revealing to you how simple, truly, illumination and embodiment can be. So I'm here for you. I'll see you in a few. Much love to you. Namaste.